Why does smacking not work?
Children have a foundational need for connection and attachment. Human infants can't survive without somebody loving on them in some way. And then you think about, what is a smack? Or in my part of the world, we call it spank. You're a human child. Connection is your air. And then the person that's meant to be providing all of that connection separates from you in one of the most egregious ways, by physically hurting you. Parents will then often say, but what's the problem? It works. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, at what cost? Like, you just paid a huge price to get your child to behave, to conform, to not do that thing again. And the cost was you taught them this lesson that connection is conditional. And it's contingent upon good behavior. And I say air quotes good behavior because little Isabella, when she's 18 months old, she's meant to push back. And when she's 2.5, she's meant to be full of sass and melting down on the ground a couple times a day. Like, she's meant to do those things because that's how big her brain is. And then we make her wrong for that. It'd be like me being made wrong for having green eyes. I can't change that about myself. Like a 2.5-year-old can't change that they have a 2.5-year-old brain. And so what they need in those moments is not to be, through fear and through shame, forced to conform and to shelve their own development in the service of the relationship. What they need is for the relationship to reach into the emotional brain via the bridge of co-regulation and settle that brain down. And then they need that to be repeated. You're not just growing a brain, you're growing a human with a heart and a soul. You're writing a narrative across that heart. And be very certain that the narrative is one that's going to serve the child 10 years from now and 30 years from now, so that they don't have to recover.
What do you see as some of the consequences down the line of kids being spanked?
One of the things is that you onboard a message that in order to be loved, you must perform. And so what does that look like? Well, let's put you in a group of your peers. And you're going to have a much harder time to, make choices that are aligned with what your parents have taught you is the right thing. Or maybe it's that they're at school and they're struggling and they're not getting the grades that they need. And then they start to develop this depression, this anxiety, these kinds of things, because they actually believe I'm not a good human because I don't do well at school. We also, in all of that kind of behaviorist thinking, condition our children to be codependents, where they believe that in order for them to be happy, they have to make the people around them happy. And if they're not doing that, then life isn't okay and they're not safe. So we teach our kids those things when we shame and blame and punish and make them wrong for being the very ones that they are.